wonderful person. So I'm really, really excited. Good morning, everybody. And I'm Dr. Swati Chakraborty, your platform moderator for Web Platform for Dialogue. Web Platform for Dialogue is a forum where we will share our thoughts, our views without any kind of judgment, any kind of fear. So it's kind of a more dialogue sessions. And today I'm really, really happy that today's morning is very, very wonderful morning with a wonderful person from Bangalore, southern part of India, and it's a IT hub also. And along with that, a wonderful entrepreneur in the field of handloom industry in Indian continent. So I'd really welcome Chanchal Badswal for this wonderful storytelling session in this month of August for Web Platform for Dialogue. Anchal is a wonderful person, and I know her from a very short span of time. But with her wonderful nature, she actually won over the minds of the people. Chanchal is a founder and chief of everything. Chanchal is the brand name for bringing earth to life in the handloom industry. Founder and health teacher of Hatha Yoga teacher in Eka Yoga. She is state president of Karnataka Handloom Council, WIIC. So I welcome Chanchal for today's storytelling session, particularly on the sustainable health and sustainable life and lifestyle, a motivational now, I welcome Chanchal for her wonderful motivational story sharing with us. How are you,
Thank
Chanchal?
you. Thank you so much, Swati. Listening to that, it looked like, oh my God, okay, is that just me? So thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. Namaste, everyone. As Swati mentioned, my name is Chanchal Badsiwal, and I've been living a sustainable life for some time, and this topic is very close to my heart. Uh, when Swati and I we were talking about on our first call, we had so many things to talk about, and sustainability really stood out. And it's a topic where you can keep talking about, right? It's something that we all learn every single day. Sustainability is so important to me as a person, as well as when I do my professional work. So I own a sustainable fashion brand. It's called Chanchal Bringing Art to Life. And our intention there is to make sure the entire process of making fashion is done in a very sustainable format, right from how a fabric is created to how an accessory is made and how it is packaged and how it is marketed. We try to build processes around the entire supply chain in a very sustainable form. Also, I believe in yoga. I call myself a yogini. I have been practicing yoga for some time now. Yoga is a practice that you learn every single day. So no matter for how long you do, you're always a student. So I like to believe that I'm a student of yoga. And as a yogini, it's extremely important for me to have sustainability inbuilt in my life, as an everyday experience, as an everyday practice. It is not something that can be just talked about. It is something that you experience personally and you personally try to do them every single day. So that's another approach to sustainable life that I follow. And like, Swati mentioned, I also, lead the Karnataka Handloom Council under WICCI, WICCI. It's India's first women's chamber of commerce and industry. So with a lot of pride as a council, we try to help the handloom sector in the state as well as in other states. We try to work with the weavers and the weaving clusters, and we try to make sure that we support and promote all the women who are part of this sector. So that's more or less what I do. And as a person, I have always tried to bring in my approach in everything that I do. I think talking about sustainability, it just can't be, a monologue, right? So here, Swati and I, we are going to talk about how sustainability we both understand, and how we both approach sustainability in our day-to-day life. Um,
So actually, for sustainability, I think it's a journey for me. When I started my career, when I was actually student,
mhm,
sorry, I thought that I'll be a geographer, and I select geography as my major and political science and education. Then with the journey of geography in a major in my college days,
mhm,
I I found that I'm more into interest about human life and their rights, how they are vulnerable. So I think more uh, political science actually influenced me a lot. Rather geographer, I prefer to do more details into human geography.
mhm,
So then I was searching that how I can move into a another subject, not as a geography as a core subject, but how I can move into it. So then I opt for human rights in my master's. In Calcutta University, we have a human rights course, different. So human rights in master's. So I explored myself that I'm more prone into the human life and how they are struggling. The
mhm,
struggle for the tribal people is something different from the mainstream people, if we called them more cultured, more educated. Actually, the indigenous people, I worked with them personally for 5 7 years. I was working with Santals, Hos, and other indigenous people. I found that they are more sustainable. So their lifestyle actually influenced me a lot.
mhm,
And what we called that the urbanization that actually blocked our mind, and the fresh air in the rural area, where actually I born into a rural area, and I was there for almost 3 years with them when I was doing my PhD. And that journey actually uh, made my changes in my mind. So I'm more prone into their lifestyle and how they are believing into the simplicity, simple form of life. So that changes my mind a lot. So that's
mhm.
my journey, from a very urban centric and very much what we called modern civilized world to into that particular sustainable world. So that's my journey to be a sustainable people.
So
Anyway,
I'm glad you brought this topic. In fact, that's a very beautiful way to look at it. Um, I have had a chance to visit a lot of towns and villages, and I work with a lot of indigenous tribes in Karnataka and some of the other states of the country, in Odisha, in West Bengal. I personally feel sustainability is actually a concept that they live. They live wholeheartedly and they live in an everyday basis. And there is so much to learn from them, I feel. Every time we work with them, we realize that we have to shed our own lens of this urbanization. We have to stop trying to make them look like us or behave like us. When you live in a city, you are living in an atmosphere where you have to you have to live in a certain way. When I say a certain way, cities are getting hotter and hotter. So people have to use electricity, they have to use AC, they have to use fans. A lot of machines have come into our lives, right? We're always in front of our laptops, our mobile. There's a life that we are living which is extremely digital, right? But having said that, when you go to a village or a town, how do they live? They don't start their day by looking at their WhatsApp or their Instagram, right? They go out, they look at the sun, they start doing their everyday chores, and that's how they start their life, right? This is how they start their day. And over a period of day, they do multiple things to take care of their families, to make food, to even get the food, right? Unlike us, they don't go to a store where they just buy their vegetables. Most of them, they grow their own vegetables. Most of them, they have their own farms. They work every day from morning to evening to grow their own vegetables, to grow their own food. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things to learn from them. As city people, if you talk to a younger child, probably they don't even know where the food is coming from. All they know is the food is coming from a store, right? Making them believe that it is grown in a farm. It's a lesson that we need to give them, right? As parents, as people, as guardians, and as just adults. And I think that's where we have to live those little things. And I absolutely agree with them. There's a lot to learn from people who are living in villages, in towns, and who have not yet gotten into this whole framework of digital living. I feel as urban people, we are always living digitally, and especially more so now in this pandemic, where all our work is done digitally. So there's a lot to learn. I have had some really interesting experience working with them, right from how they cook their food, how simply they cook their food, and yet it is so delicious. That was one of the things that I love about them. And I personally, when we cook at home, we try to cook as sattvic as possible. We make sure we also grow our own vegetables. Of course, we don't have farm like you can have when you're living in a village or in a town. But with whatever little balcony that we all have in our urban houses, we try to use them to grow some of our own food. So that is one thing that I absolutely love to do. And the other thing that we try to do is in our cooking, we try to use very basic methods of cooking. Microwave is a big no for us, and just making sure that we cook in mud pots, in iron pots, making sure using as little as possible and let the food be natural. And that's one of the ways that I have learned while I have traveled to these places where I have had the chance to work and be with these people and learn these practices from them. So that's one very simple way to bring sustainability in life at a very basic level. And I also feel what you eat is what you are. In cities, we all have gotten used to eating in a certain way. And as a yogi, it's extremely important, for me to remember that what is the right method to eat, what is the right time to eat, and what is the right food to eat. In yoga, a lot of importance is given to the kind of food. Food is divided in three different, how do I say, in three different types. There is tamasic food, there is rajasic food, and then there is sattvic food. Tamasic foods are those which make you feel tired, sleepy, angry, or just lazy. That is what tamasic food is. So your alcohol, tobacco, anything that makes you feel very lazy or sleepy or angry, that is tamasic food. Then there's another category called Rajasic food. Rajasic food is best for people, who are always active. This is the type of food an active individual should have, right? That also means that you choose your vegetables accordingly. You don't consume alcohol. You also stay away from those substances that can make you feel extremely angry or extremely, lazy, because laziness is not something that we all in city people always struggle with. We all get up really late. We are sleeping late. We just want to binge, right? So Rajtik food is meant for people who would like to have a active living. And then there is Sattvic food. Sattvic food is considered to be a balanced food where you eat in such a way which keeps your body and your mind cool and calm and composed. And that's the kind of food a yogi always eats. Uh, there's a lot of ingredients that each of these types has. Since we have limited time, I don't want to get into each category. But if you go and if you just do a bit of research, you would like to you can actually understand what is a good food for the kind of work you do. I also feel as city people, we also have started to eat a lot. There's a whole lot of importance given to eating a lot and eating a lot out, right? We always take pride in eating those pizzas, those cheesy toast and sandwiches. That's one thing which is extremely important for us to understand, that this body requires a certain type of food. And if you don't give them that kind of food, this body is going to behave very differently than how you would like it to behave, right? Uh, we all see that these days at a very young age, people are getting ailments that we never heard of when it was time of our grandparents, right? There are a lot of young people who are getting diabetes, hypertension, blood pressure, thyroid, PCOD. As a yogini, as a yoga teacher, when I'm talking to my students, I do get a lot of cases, where these women are struggling with PCOD or thyroid and joint pains at a very early age. So it's extremely important to understand that this body needs to be treated in a certain way. And that can only come when you live a sustainable life. It is not a change that you can make with just one meal or doing one yoga class for that matter. A lot of people come and they feel that, you're part of a yoga class and things will get better. Yoga works at a very root level, and it's a discipline that you need to follow rigorously on a single day basis, on an everyday basis. It's not a magic. I tell all my students, it's not a magic. It's not that you're going to come to the class and suddenly tomorrow all the pain is going to just go away. That's never going to happen. It's a practice that you have to maintain, that you have to do on an every single day. And the word that I like to use when when I am in yoga is the word that I use is sadhana, because yoga is not a technology which is made by man. It is something that is inbuilt in nature. It is inbuilt in our systems, and as a practice, when you indulge more, when you go deeper and deeper, you realize it was always part of you. Your body and your mind always wanted to go to that side, and it is just that in all the noise of the world around us, we just forgot that part. So it's extremely important to realize that there is no magic. These are very ancient, practices that can be inbuilt into your system as you do them every single day. So that is how I approach yoga, food, and sustainability all woven together in an everyday life. And I don't think they are separate from each other. I think to get the best out of them, it is important to know that they're all interwoven. They all come together so beautiful. Yoga, Ayurveda, growing your own food, eating
That's right.
natural. So it's all a rhythm. And I think once you get into that rhythm, the symphony of life is extremely beautiful.
Yes, yes. It's more of a like a harmonious life, That's we have a harmonium in the if we have. It's kind of a that you rightly pointed out that it's kind of a rhythm that we have to follow in our life. So that's why our
Absolutely.
life will be beautiful if we actually follow this certain kind of rules. I wouldn't say, the rules and regulations should be strict, but for the lifestyle maintaining that we are having so many conflicts, so many misconceptions regarding yoga. We have actually so many
Yeah.
misconceptions. So I think yoga teacher is very, very important in our life. So that, why teacher is very important for me actually. We always have intention to do or to search for the wrong thing first. So teacher is a first who actually guide us in a right way. So teacher is very important for our life. And for yoga teacher, so you have to select whoever is will be watching this video later on. The teacher is a very must thing if you are willing to do it, because she or he will be the right person to guide you in this way. Don't do the Google and don't start yoga from the day, at the night you will start yoga, or no, you have to follow certain rules and regulations for that. And I think yoga is kind of a thing which we actually start in the morning with the taking a deep breath in and out. That is one of our greatest practice in the morning. So if anyone would like to follow this in the starting with the morning with a one glass of very lukewarm water, that's why I'm doing myself. In the very earlier days, I had my own yoga teacher, and she's my mom. So she is practicing yoga from her earlier days. So, and so I have my own yoga guru. She is my mom. So I'm very blessed. And from the very childhood days, I have my morning school. My morning schedule was very, very impact. I woke up in the morning, 5 o'clock, and then start my schooling and afterwards. So for 12 years, I have practiced the morning school routine. So it was very smooth to me because I don't have any issues with that. But with this urban, segment, we may not able to follow that particular morning routine. So how would you feel that how the corporates and whoever is into the IT sector, particularly in Bangalore, I'm telling about it because I was in Bangalore and my family was in Bangalore too. So how would you feel that it's important because they are very not very early riser, or rather they spend their nights in a pub, that culture has been into the society. So how would you feel that how we can change this lifestyle into a very healthy one? What would be your point of?
Uh, so just to begin with, I think we are not at a position, I'm not at a position to comment on how people live their life. I think everybody is intelligent and they can choose how to live. But whatever choices we make, that's going to have impact on how this body and this mind is going to behave, how we will live, how happily we will live, and how healthily we will live. So the only thing that I tell people is make your choices. But no, those choices will have an impact and an effect. Be ready for the consequence. That's all. Um, by all means, do whatever you love to do. But also be ready that this will have its own consequence, and you should be just ready for that. One of the things that I hear people saying is that, you know what, if we are working for 5 days, so we need this kind of fun. We need to relax. We need to, go out and chill. And I completely agree. When you work for so long, you definitely need to relax. You just need to choose the methods that are going to actually relax, right? I know I have gone through that phase myself. When I was working with corporates, I worked with corporates for a decade. And it was very natural to finish your work at 9 o'clock and then head out for a drink or for dinner with your team members. And at that time, it looks, this is the only thing that people do, and this is the coolest thing that you have to do, right? You don't want to be missing out on that fun. As a person, I have been a teetotaler all my life. I have never felt the need of using I've never liked the taste of alcohol. So that's one of the good things. So I've never felt inclined towards that direction. Okay, cheers for that. So that's one thing that I've always been away. So I definitely do not understand what it is to have it and then like it and then leave it. So we like I said, we are nowhere to tell people how they should live, what they should eat, what they should drink. It is absolutely their choice. If you believe that you can live healthily, and if you would like to invest in that, then there's very basic certain practices that we can do. And this is not something that I believe in. This is something that we've been told by our grandparents. Even when we were studying, I don't know if you remember, there was this one chart that every student used to get, which used to say, sleep early, get up early, and eat on time, eat your fruits, pray, respect your elders. So I think these are very basic things. And we all know it in our heart. We all have studied it. We've also seen our parents, our grandparents, and a lot of our family members following them, right? My grandparents, they would always get up at 4:30. So that's something that we've always seen our families doing. And so this is nothing special that I can tell. Just do what you've always learned. Eat well, eat on time. Every time when you get up in the morning, get up with positivity. Be thankful that you're up and you are living this beautiful day. Have gratitude that you have this beautiful day to live, right? And go out in the sun. Just soak that moment of that morning freshness. Breathe, relax. You don't have to do some major practices if you don't want to, but just being out in the sun, just being out in the morning freshness, it just freshens you up. It puts an energy in you which you will enjoy the entire day. I don't want to say that, do that 1 hour of class. Don't do it if you don't want to. Go for a walk. Be in the nature. Walk on grass for some time. Touch a tree. Plant plant something in your balcony. Be in touch with nature and just breathe that fresh air. Let your body feel that freshness. Because yoga is not just about doing asana. It is also about, living in that moment, being in that moment without being disturbed by your phone, by your WhatsApp messages, by your emails. I see every working person just starting off with their email and they're like, oh my God, I have to respond to this. We have a meeting. We have 100 things to do. Don't do that to yourself in the morning. That's your morning. And you have the entire control how you start your day. And don't lose
That's
that control just because you have been practicing something. Make those little changes.
absolutely,
The word
absolutely.
sustainability, the word sustainability is very beautiful. It means ability to sustain. So the current practices of checking emails, you can't sustain it all your life. You can't enjoy looking at your emails or your Instagram every day,
You
right?
have
So
entire day for that.
absolutely. So ability to sustain means doing something which you can do every single day and be happy. So these are very little ways. Without I don't want to sound like a teacher here, but do things which are extremely basic, which you saw your parents, your grandparents doing, and enjoy your day. Have
I think
control of your day.
that is what you meant, the value-based education system that we actually, from the very early days of our childhood, our parents, our grandparents would like to trying to, assimilate into ourselves, but we never, listen to them. But now we are actually feeling the importance of this after 30 years. So
I
yeah,
can,
it's happening. It's
uh,
happening. So I
yeah,
have
but
one last. We have almost time. I have one last question. It's not question. It's like my query to you. How
mhm.
handloom is important to you? How handloom is important to you?
It's part of the sustainable journey. Let me put it like this. What you wear, what touches your body, has to be something that feels extremely comfortable, right? These days, I think we all have gotten used to nylon, synthetic, and whatnot. But if you really wear something which is naturally made, which is made with something that your body can accept and breathe into, then you will realize the difference. For the longest, when I was working in the corporates, I think we just assume that the way to be formally dressed is to wear a trouser and a shirt, right, or a suit, which is made of synthetic material, and that's what something that I also did. And it took me some time to realize that my body never feels comfortable in this kind of a clothing, right? You can look a certain way, and that's absolutely fantastic. But is your body able to breathe? It's extremely important to wear clothing where your body feels comfortable. What you wear is absolutely, your call. But the material that you use, it's important that your body should be able to breathe. And handloom is such a beautiful textile, and it gives you so many a variety to choose from. And it is something made with so much of intention, care, and hard work. When it touches your body, it does not feel heavy on you. You are not, even if you sweat, your cloth is, your material is going to take care of that, unlike synthetic material. So, handloom is extremely important, and not just for me as a human being. I think it's also important for us as a society, because there's a huge part of population which works in the handloom industry, and the more we support them, the more we realize it has a huge, economic impact. It is the second largest employment generator in the country. So you can never ignore it. You can never ignore it. And the kind of work handloom industry has been doing for several, centuries, you can't ignore it. It is so beautiful. The beauty of India is that every state has its own culture. It has its own weaves. It has its own motifs, patterns, and those fabrics are made keeping in mind the temperature of that state. In some state, you will see people wearing more silk. In some state, people will wear more cottons. And in some state, it will be a mix of both. Depending on what kind of, environment you are in, what kind of atmosphere and what kind of temperature your state or your city has, you can choose that kind of a material. Your body should feel comfortable at the end of the day. And it's extremely important to realize that living in synthetic, you're also not letting your body breathe. So as much as it is important as an ecosystem, it is also important as a human body.
So much, Chanchal. I'm really, really happy that today I personally could able to grasp so many important information regarding the handloom, because I never thought that, yeah, you are right. Now I can feel that why in West Bengal, that where hot and humid, we are always wearing the kind of material with mating with this kind of very soft and handmade things are actually very, very soft. And I always prefer to wear not handloom always, but I always prefer to wear cotton. Cotton is a thing which actually very close to my body, and it's, you are rightly pointed out that it actually absorbs your sweat. That's a body part of yours. So thank you so much for this handloom things, and I'm really, really thankful for this kind of information. So we are almost at the end of the discussion, sir, and with this positive vibes, any kind of positive message would you like to share? Any kind of quotation or your own thought?
I would just like to share my personal experience, and I will try to cut it short and make it really brief. It's a personal experience that I had. 2 years back, I met with an accident, and my tailbone broke. And the doctor said that it's going to take a long time to heal. And I also spoke to some of the other people who had gone through similar kind of accident. And I spoke to them and I tried to gather, how did they heal? Because it was very important for me to make sure that my body heals completely, that my tailbone heals completely, not just as just a person, but also somebody who loves to run, who loves to trek, who loves to walk for long, long hours. It was extremely important for me to heal. So when I was talking to some of the people, I realized that most of them said, you know what, this is something that you will probably have to live your whole life with. The pain is going to be there, and you will probably not be able to walk as long or stand as long. But I was determined to make sure that my body heals. And one of the things that I believed in was the miracle this body is. As a yogini, it was necessary for me to go back to my sadhana. I was only allowed to either lie down completely or stand. I could not sit for almost 2.5 months. So the one thing that I did yoga. I was in yoga most part of the day. I was meditating. I was doing some of the asanas, which I could do with the upper part of my body, so that the blood circulation keeps on and my body is not, becoming stiff. I was trying to keep it as frictionless as possible. I used to get up early. I used to go out in the sun. I used to be with my plants. I used to do certain upayoga practices that my upper body could do. And then I used to lie down in meditation for several hours. I had nothing much to do, right? I could just lie down or I could just stand. So for most part of the day, I would just lie down with my eyes closed and I would just meditate. And it is a practice that I've learned over a period of time. And in 3 months, my tailbone was healed. My doctor was extremely surprised, and I could do my trek. I had already planned a trek before my accident, which was in Bhutan, and I did not want to miss it. And I was determined to do that trek. And just by believing in my sadhana and by believing in this body, that this body is miraculous and it can do wonders, I was able to heal. And when I went to that trek, it's a 1 day trek and it's a beautiful trek in Bhutan. And when I was doing this, I just thanked this body and this entire universe, which gives so much to us. And we can take as much as we want and can give back as much as we want. I think if you connect with the universe and if you understand your mind, your body, and you feel connected to the universe, there is so much, to learn from, so much to understand about your own self. It was an absolutely a beautiful experience for me to understand yoga in a very different way, to understand my own sadhana in a very different way. And that's an experience that I wanted to share, because we are talking about sustainability, and sustainability is all about making your body sustain beautifully, ability to sustain, right? So I would like to, close with that story. And I hope that we all start to believe in our bodies and in the ability of our mind, and what all we can do with this body. So thank you so much for having me.
A wonderful story, and thank you. It's a life-changing story, and I'm really thankful to you. Thankfulness is not the word I have enough to show my gratitude to you, Chanchal, personally. And it's really like, from your eyes I can feel, and it's like goosebumps to me, that how you are, in this with this 2-3 months you had facing the issues of your body, and but with your practicing yoga, and how the healing period it was. And it's like, I think, miraculous story for who will be watching your storytelling session afterwards in the web platform for dialogue, in our website, in our channel YouTube. So I think they can able to connect with you. So please share your email ID, your website details, everything.
Absolutely. Okay. So if you would like to connect with me and learn and understand more about yoga, you could check our website. It's called ekayogaindia.wordpress.com. If you would like to know about Handloom, you can check our website. It's called www.chanchal.co.in. We are there on Facebook. We are there on Instagram. I'm also there on LinkedIn. So feel free to be in touch. And my email ID is ethnicchanchal@gmail.com. Maybe what we will do is we will type it in the description, and everybody can then see it.
Perfect. I will do that. Thank you so much, Chanchal, for this wonderful morning. And we will continue this kind of positive vibes in our lifetime. So I think this session will be the life-changing for some people who are into deep stress, who are thinking that how to connect with a exact person. So I think you are the answer for their question. So thank you so much, and have a nice day. Namaste.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.